Stop hunting. Start finding. Choose the AT&T Real Yellow Pages with complete ads and up-to-date local listings to find just what you need.
My universe is everything I imagine. I want to be a graphic designer. How can I get there? The Academy. It fits my busy lifestyle, and I can learn firsthand from instructors who've been there and know what it takes. Hey, my destiny is a career doing what I love, my way. My choice, my school. The International Academy of Design and Technology.
You imagine? We can get you there. Call 1-800-932-2900. 1-800-932-2900.
It's 4 o'clock. You want to dial in?
Yeah, you know, these calls would go a lot better if we had an office.
This is our office.
This is your daughter's dorm room, Bob.
Listen, we have internet, telephone,
dorm
lounge. It's all free.
You could just do business at FedEx office. They've got Wi-Fi, workstations. A lot of them are open 24/7. It'll still save us an overhead.
Hey, baby. Here, give me sugar. Get a room.
Technically, this is her room.
Hello, we're on.
We understand. You want less overhead. FedEx office.
Hi, welcome to Speak Out TV. I'm Nicole Alvarez, and I'm here with Daniel Webster. How are you, Daniel?
Great.
I'm really glad you were able to come with us today. Daniel's running for Congress, and let's see a little bit, if you could tell us about your family background first, before we get into all the political things.
Well, my family background is this. I grew up in Orlando. I went to high school in Orlando, went off to Georgia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia, got a electrical engineering degree, came back, and my dad, who had started a business in 1961, so it's almost 50 years old, I joined him, and we worked together. And then I got married, had 2 kids initially, and then there was a little bit of a gap, and then I had 4 more. So we have 6 kids, 5 grandkids, 1 more on the way, should be born this month, and that'll make 6 and 6. And everything's great.
Wow, you have your whole campaign there behind you, don't you?
Yes, it is it's a professional team.
Well, to tell you a little bit about Daniel, he engineered the Republican takeover of the House in 1996, and you ended up being the first Republican Speaker of the House in 122 years. That's pretty...
Yes, it was
cool.
long coming. We called it the 122-year reign of terror. So that ended, and it's amazing because it was by 1 vote.
Really?
We were able to gain a majority. When I got to the legislature in 1980, we had a deep minority. The Democrats had way more. They controlled the whole state. They had every cabinet post, most of the local posts, and the governor, lieutenant governor, and both houses of the legislature. And it took 16 years as far as the time I was there in order to gain a majority. When we did, it was a new day.
Wow, that sounds pretty incredible. So basically you changed the way the legislature worked.
Yes, the legislature was a power-based system. A few people at the top, the speaker and a few others, were in charge of everything, kind of like Congress is today. Matter of fact, it looked very similar to that. They didn't tell the members what was going on, not only the Republicans who were in the minority, but also some of their rank-and-file Democrats. They just told them, this is it, you vote this way. So the way they would work it is they would hold all of the member bills till the end of session to keep members loyal. And then one at a time they would let them pop out as the session went on. You got to the end of the session and they would push hard for all kinds of issues, and then after midnight, usually on the last day of session, is when all of the things would happen, just like it does in Congress. They pushed them right against, in the Senate, right against Christmas, and then they made them vote. Same here, we would work all session long, and then all of the big bills would come out at the end, and there would only be maybe 10 minutes per bill to debate them, no chance for amendments, no chance to read them, or anything like that. And I wanted to end all that. So when I became Speaker, I got rid of all that, set up some principles that we would govern the bills by, and that was less government, lower taxes, more individual freedom, more personal responsibility, and empowering the family. Those 5 principles were the judge of the bills. Before, the judge of the bills was, were you powerful? So if you're a committee chairman or a speaker or a senior member, then you had good ideas, no matter what, because you were powerful. If you weren't that, if you were a freshman or someone else in the minority party, your ideas were all bad because of who you were, not because of your idea itself. So we ended all that. We said, no, we're going to base everything on principles. No matter who you are, you're going to have an opportunity to be a player. And it worked. It was just awesome.
That sounds really interesting. How did you change the legislature? I believe something happened with your church.
Yes, the reason I ran to begin with was because I had two kids, two small kids. Like I said, I worked in my dad's business. We were happy. I was married, and we were a member of the First Baptist Church of Pine Hills. And we had a house that we bought on Pine Hills Road right next to our parking lot, and we wanted to use it on Sunday. So I had to go down and ask the county, Orange County, for a zoning exception, which I did. And
you got
waited a couple
denied.
of weeks. Yeah, they denied it. I thought, and so I asked them, why did you deny it? They said, well, it's adverse to public policy. I said, this is the United States of America. What do you mean it's adverse to public policy? I was naive. I voted, and that was it. So I asked this question, which really changed my life. I said, who sets public policy? They said, the legislature. I said, okay, I'm running for the legislature. Never been to Tallahassee before, never seen the inside of the Capitol, never seen the gavel, nothing. I just said I'm running. So on the last day to qualify, right before the time ran out, 2 hours before the time ran out, I went to Tallahassee and I filed my papers and I paid my money and I was running for the House of Representatives.
Wow.
And I campaigned all over Orange County. It was a countywide race then, and most people will tell me you're a nice guy, but you're going to lose. And also here, it was a Democrat county, and most of the legislators were Democrat. So I wasn't expecting much. I just wanted to go set good public policy. So I worked real hard, and in the end, we had a victory party over some friends of ours. All my campaign workers came from Pine Hills because I grew up there, went to school there, went to church there, and most of my friends lived there. So in the end, as the election night's going on, I see my opponent on TV being interviewed as the winner. So we're at this victory party, everybody goes home. And then after midnight, somebody called me and said, hey, it's a little bit closer than we thought. You should go down to the supervisor of elections office. Well, I didn't even know where the supervisor of election office was. So I had to find that out. So I went down there and walked in the door, and there was a guy I knew, and he said, it's a tie vote. I told you I was naive. I said, do they have ties? He said, no, there's one area left. I said, where is it? He said, Pine Hills. And so that's the year I grew up in, and we stomped them there, and I ended up winning. Even though the Sentinel the next day reported that I had lost, I won. And I headed to Tallahassee to make good public policy. That's how I got involved.
Wow, that's amazing. So basically, your church made you be involved in the legislature. What a way to get into that.
I know, it's amazing.
Oh my goodness. What are your other legislature highlights?
My legislative highlights, probably the biggest one and the most difficult one was convincing the legislature of what people would have called a just outrageous idea of allowing parents to teach their kids at home. Now it's called homeschooling. It's totally accepted, universally accepted, but at the time no one had ever heard of it, no one had ever thought about doing it, and they thought it was a crazy idea. That was about 25 years ago. And so that was probably the best accomplishment in that no one knew. The legislators were so afraid and thought it never could be done, but we ended up passing the bill and it became law, and it hasn't changed since. And nothing bad has happened. The sky didn't fall, as most of the education community said. The sky's going to fall, education's going to go bust, and it's a bad, bad thing, and all these children are going to become uneducated. But it didn't happen that way. They got educated, it worked, and parents were for the better. Was it for everybody? No, it was just school choice, and that was the start. When Jeb Bush became governor, we really began opening up school choice. And so we had charter schools, we had a corporate tax credit scholarship for children who wanted to have an opportunity to go to a private school that couldn't afford it. All kinds of other options that were opened up, and it started with that little homeschool bill back in 1985, and then when Jeb got there, we really, really expanded our choices here in the state. And it's probably it is the school choice state in the country.
Well, certain cases it's actually necessary. Let's say if you don't live near an A school and it's too far away, say you live near a D or F school, I'm sure parents would rather put it amongst themselves to teach their children at home. So in certain cases, I think
we offered options.
Yeah.
And now Jeb goes all over the country with his education foundation and teaches other states and legislatures and governors about how we did it in Florida.
All right. Jeb Bush. Let's see. Why are you qualified to run for Congress? Probably the biggest question.
Why am I qualified to run for Congress? Well, I believe I have experience that's proven experience. A lot of people talk about being a particular person and can do a particular thing. I've proven it. I came to Tallahassee as part of the Reagan Revolution. We revolutionized the way Tallahassee worked. We changed it. It didn't change me. And I think that's what we need in Washington. We have a capital that's broken. It is a mess, and it needs to be changed. And I believe I can do it because I've done it before. I can do it again.
Do you think it's going to be rough running against Alan Grayson?
I think it'll be a hurricane. But I have a record, and he has a record, and I believe my record will stand. I believe his is one that the people as a whole in District 8 are against. They are tired of the borrowing. We're borrowing $4 billion a day. We have turned our back on Israel and other friends in Europe. We have passed a health care plan that no one really likes. And all of that took place, and we're just spending like crazy.
Yeah, we
like
are.
you know, let's just print more money, borrow more money, and borrow it from our enemies or whoever we want to borrow it from. And those are the kind of things that I believe this district is ready to stand against.
Didn't he spend a lot of our money giving out CDs to people with his quotations on them?
When you borrow money that's unlimited, when you print money in an unlimited fashion, then you don't really care what costs. You don't, and that's the problem. So whether it's $73,000 for that, or billions of dollars for aid to companies who don't even need it, and to people who don't deserve it, and just passing out favors here and there with billions and billions, and it adds up to trillions of dollars. When you don't think about the little things, you really aren't going to care about the big things either.
I agree. Well, hopefully with Jeb Bush behind you, that's a pretty good start right there.
Yes, he gave a resounding endorsement of me, and so did U.S. Senator Connie Mack, former Senator Connie Mack, current Senator George Lemieux, and a host of others have endorsed me.
I like Jeb Bush. Tell him I said hi.
He's a good man.
Last question. What is your toughest decision of your career? Your new career? My
new career, the toughest decision was to run. Because I have a family. I've told you a little bit about my family. I've got kids, grandkids. I love them, and I like being with them. And I could easily enjoy coasting. And if we had a government that was not trying to destroy our country, then I would be doing that. Unfortunately, there is a stronger pull that says, I've got to go do something, or at least attempt to do it. And so I'm going to engage my family. They're going to be, in a sense, in this with me. But I think it is worth the personal sacrifice to run and to hopefully go to Washington and hopefully change the way it is.
Okay. Well, we'll be right back. I'm Nicole Alvarez. I'm speaking with Daniel Webster.
Travel to Spain or Orlando Avenue. The finest restaurant featuring cuisine from Spain is open for business, lunch, and pleasure. El Bodegón, our very own 4-star restaurant, is open for business, lunch, and dinner. This is a true gem when it comes to real Spanish cuisine, featuring dishes like paella. El Bodegón also has a great wine selection. Enjoy a 4-star cuisine from Spain today for lunch or dinner at El Bodegón.
Hi, I'm Danny Ramos, and welcome back to this week's edition of Hispanic Speak Out TV, brought to you every single week on Bright House Cable TV. And this broadcast is part of a internship program for students at AIDT, the School of Design and Technology here in Orlando. And I'm here sitting with Daniel Webster. And Daniel Webster is running against Alan Grayson, a very, very well-known Democratic congressman in Central Florida, who has been known on NBC, CBS, and CNN for saying the infamous words, "Republicans want you dead." Well, what do you think of that statement?
Well, I think Republicans want you alive.
Okay.
How about
You're
that?
a Republican, right?
That's right.
Okay, okay. Well, we had Alan here, and there was a series of questions, and actually we did a broadcast with him about 2 weeks ago. He was on the air, and I'm going to ask you some of the same questions I asked him.
Okay.
All right? Obviously, because you're in the Congress, we're concerned more about federal, international issues, national issues. So the questions that we're going to hit you with have to do with that more on a national level. There's a big controversy about same-sex marriages, okay? What's your position on same-sex marriages?
Well, I am for heterosexual marriages only.
Okay.
I believe marriage was intended to be that. That's what it is. That's the way it is in this country, and that's the way we started. I think it is a very important part of our community is the fact that we have a mom, a dad, and children, and that is a key element of our society. I think we would be totally destroying the society and the country we have by doing it any other way.
Do you have the tolerance for any kind of official relationship that's not marriage for same-sex couples?
All I'm saying is that in our Constitution we protect the definition and the term marriage, and that's what I'm for.
Okay. All right. And what's your position on abortion?
I am pro-life.
Okay. And pro-life in relationship to, let's say, there's a rape or something like that. Do you think there's extenuating circumstances?
No. I think life begins at conception.
Okay. Okay. Now, let's take it one step further because we'll follow it down a little bit. A woman is raped. She doesn't want the baby. She has the baby because abortion is against the law. Now, who takes care of that child if the mother does not want to take care of that child?
Well, there are plenty of adoption agencies, and they're working. There are people that are begging for babies. Matter of fact, that's why, I think that they should have the baby. And if they don't want it, that's one thing. I'm sure there is a loving home and family that will take care of that baby and raise that baby.
Would your family be open to adoption?
Sure.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about another subject which is really hot, for what's going on in Florida as well as across the nation, immigration. Okay? Arizona, very controversial. The 9th District Court kicked it back. They said that the Arizona law was not appropriate and that the state did not have the right to enforce federal law. So there's a big conflict. The state is appealing. Do you think that law has a place in Florida?
Well, I think that the point is this: all they're doing is enforcing a law that already exists. That's it. Mm-hmm. So if the underlying law is wrong, then somebody ought to change it. But as far as telling Arizona, no, don't enforce a federal law that already exists, that's wrong, because the federal government already tells the state to enforce some of their laws, now. So I believe in the end that they're going to have the authority to enforce the federal law. The point is the law right or wrong? That's something for the Congress to discuss. I believe that an illegal alien, if they're illegal, that's the term. The term wasn't something that Arizona invented. It's a term that was invented by the federal government. They passed a law. They said, here's how you get into this country. Here's how you become a citizen. Here's how you live here. And doing it any other way is illegal. To me, we are a nation of immigrants. I mean, this country is built on immigration. My forefathers immigrated here just like just about every other person living in this country. But there was a front door. He came through the front door. There was a process, and that process was established by Congress and by the rules that were set out by the executive branch. And those should be followed. And any other way through the front door is wrong, in that you're telling everyone that came through the right way, well, it really didn't matter you came in the right way. You could have come in the back door and it been just as easy, and you wouldn't have to done all the things you did. So to me, but that, in the end, the real key is this. I believe, should seal off our borders and make them as tight as we can, so that there's no other creeping over into it. We have water boundaries here. We don't have the problem that Arizona has. They have a land boundary. And it's not just illegals from Mexico that are coming across there. There are muggers and thugs and thieves and others, and I think that's what the concern was in Arizona, is the criminal element. So to me, you seal off the borders, you can at least stop that, and then you figure out what you're going to do after that.
Okay. There is a statistic, it's that they estimate about 15% of the people crossing the border are actually felons or people running from the law.
Yes.
15%, that's 15 out of 100. And they're actually coming into the United States. I just wanted to point that out to you.
Yes, and that's been my point all along. I've said, first you seal it so that there is a fixed number of people here. Then I think the first thing you do is prosecute the criminal element. That's who you go after, and either deport them or prosecute them. That, to me, is the key.
Dan, how do you deal with the horse is out of the barn already? You know, the reality is, you know, there are some estimates that there are 12 million people here that are here improperly. Other estimates say up to 20 million. It's costing the state of Florida, I believe, $85 million a year, taxpayers, to provide services to people that are here illegally. How do you extract, or what do you do? What is the solution for the people that have been in here in Florida and across the nation, all 15 million of them? You can't mass evacuate. So how do you deal with that problem?
Well, I think it's a step. You take a step. First is to seal the borders. And that means if it's 12 million, it's going to stay 12 million. If it's 13 million, it's going to stay 13 million. That's the first thing you do. Second is you prosecute those that are the criminal element. I believe there's stages and steps you got to go through, but you start there, as opposed to just starting saying, okay, we're going to deport 13 million people. That's not going to happen, and everybody knows that. It's just not going to happen. It's not happening at all.
It's not practical.
Yeah. So, but I think you've got to start with the criminal element, and you've got to rid that criminal element. It doesn't matter if they were citizens or non-citizens. We ought to be after those who are breaking the law, and especially those who are causing you know, property damage and other things, including murders, and those people need to be prosecuted.
Mm-hmm. Do you believe in employer sanctions? You're an employer. You're a person who's entrepreneurial. You have your own company. Do you believe the federal government should fine you for hiring illegal aliens or for not checking them when you hire them?
I believe that the burden should be on the federal government, and if they want to know there's someone here illegal, then they should be issuing a card that's verifiable, and whether it's electronic or whatever. We live at a technological age that's so advanced beyond where we were even 10 or 15 years ago. It seems like it'd be a lot easier for the federal government to take that burden than to put it on businesses.
So what are you saying, issuing a national identity card?
No, not necessarily. I just think that there are people here, especially on visas and other things, and those visas ought to be able to be, and other means of getting here, that those should be something that you can easily verify that it's either expired or other things have happened to it, and if that be the case, then the action should be prosecuted in a way that would be concurrent with the law.
Okay. Do you believe immigrants are taking jobs away from Floridians? From legal Floridians?
You mean like if there were illegals here, would they be taking jobs away from Floridians? No, I don't.
Okay. You believe that, let's say, the immigrants are actually serving a purpose and they're not taking away economic potential from people who are working in the workforce?
Well, in these days, there may be people who would take, you know, jobs that
they normally wouldn't take.
Yes, right. So it may be a little bit different now, but in normal circumstances, I don't see it as much. There may be other states and other circumstances, but here, the migrant farm workers are probably where the biggest section of illegals are, and I don't see anybody stepping up to take those jobs.
Okay. Do you support union labor, unions in the state of Florida?
No, I don't. I believe we have a right to work state, and it should remain that way.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the Obama health care program. What is your position on the Obama health care law that passed?
I believe that what was passed is way too expansive because they took 15% of the people and tried to solve a problem, but they modified the entire health care program, and I think it's wrong. Basically, they moved from 100% to 133% of poverty with Medicaid. And that's where everybody's going to be getting covered. They took on all of these other policy issues, which has nothing to do with covering more people. And so they stuck in taxes and increases in premiums and forbidding taking a certain policy without paying a fine or penalizing employers who do or don't offer a program and it's not the right one. All of those things, in my mind, is just way over the top. It's way beyond. Plus, what people don't realize in this state and in every other state, that in the end, the state will be paying its share, which right now under current law, other than the fact that they've given us some stimulus money, is 45%. So 45% of those new 33% above 100% of poverty are going to be borne by the state of Florida, not by the federal government. So when you saw Vice President Biden show that the thing started flattening out and then it would go down, the deficit, of course it would, because after 10 years, the what they call FMAT, which is our share of formula for paying for Medicaid, will go away, or be reinstituted, and we will be paying 45% of that cost. So the federal government now, which was paying 100% for the first, well, actually 6 years of the program, will begin paying 55%. So yeah, they're saving, but it doesn't save the taxpayers. They're going to have to foot the bill. It's just shifting. Yeah. That's all it's going to do.
We're running out of time. I got one quick question. I have a bunch of questions, and I wish I had more time, but we don't. How do you feel about the building of a mosque on Ground Zero in New York?
Well, I believe it's inherently wrong. I mean, it would be just like having some sort of monument built in Pearl Harbor by the Japanese, a year or two, maybe 4 years after the war ended. It's wrong.
So you believe that it's actually, do you believe it's actually a statement of success on the part of extreme Muslims that they actually built something there?
No, I don't know if it's a statement of success or not. I don't know what that means, but I just believe it's over the top.
Okay. Let's see, we have time for one more. You know what, I don't think we do have time for one more, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I'll take it off of the former interviewer. We have a housing disaster in the United States. The numbers are now, I heard that the numbers are 20% of every house in the country is on the water. Okay, what is the solution for this?
Well, I don't know about 20% of the houses being underwater. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, I heard it on the radio,
so
on the news.
I don't know what that is, so I couldn't answer
Okay,
that
well,
question.
meaning that the houses are worth less than what is owed on.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
No,
literally, I'm thinking, wow, I never heard that before.
Yeah.
Well, in my mind, just like I would have believed that we should not have passed the TARP, we should not have passed the stimulus package, I think buyer beware. It's the way it is. And I'm sad that we have gotten to that point. But people bought houses that were way worth, or supposedly worth, far more than they really were. And now there's this adjustment, and I don't see it. I don't see that the federal government has a role to come in. But then again, I didn't think they had a role in a lot of the other things they've done too.
Okay, so you follow the standard Republican platform: less government involvement in a person's life.
Right.
Okay. This is Danny Ramos, Hispanic Speak Out TV. Thank you very much, Mr. Webster. Good luck on your campaign and your election. We'll see you next week on Bright House Cable, Channel 49, to meet the politicians and future elected officials of this state.